The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink, and the streets were quiet. 16-year-old Jaden Carter was walking home from basketball practice. His gym bag was over his shoulder, and music played in his ears through his old headphones. He had just made the team at school, and his coach told him he was fast, really fast. Jaden smiled to himself. He couldn't wait to tell his dad when he got home. Jaden didn't know that someone was watching him. As he turned the corner near Maple Street, a police car slowly rolled behind him. Inside, two officers looked at each other. "That him?" the driver asked. The other officer nodded. "Black hoodie, gym bag. That's him." Jaden kept walking, unaware. Then the siren flashed. The red and blue lights lit up the sidewalk. Jaden turned around, surprised. "Hey!" one of the officers shouted. "Stop right there." Jaden pulled his headphones off. "What? Did I drop something?" "Get on the ground," the officer yelled. Jaden froze. "What? Why?" Before Jaden could move or explain, the officers rushed toward him. "I didn't do anything," he said. But it was too late. One of them grabbed his arms, the other pushed him down. His bag fell to the ground. His cheek hit the cold pavement. "Stop resisting," one officer barked. "I'm not resisting," Jaden cried out. His heart pounded. He didn't understand what was happening. People on the street stopped and stared. A woman pulled out her phone and started recording. "He's just a kid," she shouted. Another man yelled, "Leave him alone." What did he do? But the officers didn't answer. They were too busy handcuffing Jaden. Tears filled Jaden's eyes. "Please," he whispered. "I didn't do anything. I'm just trying to go home." One officer leaned down and said coldly, "You matched the description." Jaden tried to speak, but fear gripped his chest. The cuffs were too tight. His arm hurt. Someone in the crowd asked, "What description?" The officer didn't respond. Then a voice from the back of the crowd said something that made everyone stop. "You better call his father. You don't know who he is." Heads turned. The officers looked up. "Who said that?" one asked. But no one answered. Jaden lay still. His body hurt. His pride hurt more. All he could think about was his dad. His strong, quiet, careful dad. His dad always told him, "Keep calm. Stay smart. Don't give them a reason." Jaden had done all of that, and it still wasn't enough. Across the city, in a small self-defense gym, Marcus Carter was teaching a class. He showed students how to stay alert and how to protect themselves if attacked. Then his phone rang. He looked down and saw a text. "Marcus, it's Jaden. The police have him on the ground on Maple Street." Marcus's face changed. Calm turned to fire. He dropped the training pad and ran. Back on the street, the crowd was growing. People were shouting. Others were recording with their phones. The police radioed for backup, still treating Jaden like a threat. The officer who held him down didn't know Marcus Carter was on his way. Didn't know Marcus had served overseas. Didn't know Marcus had trained special forces. Didn't know Marcus knew how to end threats, quietly and fast. And now, that threat was his son. Jaden looked up again, eyes searching the crowd. He was scared. He was tired. But somewhere deep down, he knew his father would come. He always came. Marcus Carter had always been calm under pressure. He had worked in war zones, protected high-level people, and trained hundreds in self-defense. But nothing prepared him for the message he just received. "Marcus, it's Jaden. The police have him on the ground on Maple Street." He stood frozen for 2 seconds. Then everything inside him changed. Marcus didn't say a word to his students. He just grabbed his keys and ran out of the gym. His heart beat fast. Not because he was afraid, but because he was angry. "This can't be happening," he whispered to himself. He had taught Jaden how to be respectful, how to stay calm around police, how to survive in a world that didn't always see him as a child. And now, someone had slammed his son to the ground. He jumped into his car and sped through the streets. Maple Street wasn't far. As he drove, his phone buzzed again. Another message came in. From a neighbor. "They're still holding him down. He's crying. A crowd is filming everything." Marcus gripped the wheel tighter. He knew how these things could go. One wrong move, one misunderstood word, 1 second too late, and it could be over. Jaden was only 16. A kid, his kid. Meanwhile, Jaden lay on the pavement, his face red and dirty. His arm hurt from how they twisted it. One of the officers stood with his knee near Jaden's back. The other officer spoke into a radio. "We've got a suspect. Black male, black hoodie, age 17 maybe, possibly armed." Jaden raised his voice as best he could. "I'm 16. I don't have anything. I'm just walking home." But no one listened. A woman in the crowd screamed, "Let the boy go. He's not a threat." The man next to her said, "I'll got the wrong person. This is gonna blow up online." But the officers looked nervous now. Too many cameras were pointed at them. Still, they didn't let go. Suddenly, a black SUV pulled up fast. It stopped in the middle of the street. The door flew open, and Marcus Carter stepped out. The crowd turned. People started whispering, "That's his dad." The two officers looked at the man walking toward them. He wore plain clothes, but there was something about the way he moved. Strong, controlled, focused, like a soldier. Marcus didn't run. He didn't shout. He walked slowly, straight, calm, but his eyes were sharp. "That's my son," he said clearly. The officer holding Jaden paused. "Sir, we're dealing with a suspect. Please step back." Marcus didn't stop. He stood right in front of them now. He pointed to Jaden. "He is not a suspect. He is a child. My child." The second officer stepped forward. "Back up now, or we will arrest you too." That's when Marcus looked at him with full focus. "I wouldn't do that," he said quietly. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning from a man trained to handle threats for a living. The crowd grew quiet. People held their breath. The first officer finally stepped back. He looked unsure now. "We were told someone in a black hoodie robbed a corner store nearby." Marcus didn't blink. "Did you check the cameras? Did you check the face? Or did you just see skin color?" The officer didn't answer. Jaden, still on the ground, whispered, "Dad." Marcus bent down gently and helped him sit up. "I'm here, son," he said softly. "You're safe now." The crowd cheered. Some clapped. Others cried. Phones kept recording. The video of Marcus stepping in started to go viral. A father, a protector, a trained man who kept his cool while his son was treated like a criminal. Jaden leaned on his dad, eyes still wide. "I didn't do anything," he whispered. Marcus hugged him close. "I know. And now, the world will know too." But Marcus knew this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. For a moment, everything was still. The crowd, the officers, even the wind seemed to pause as Marcus Carter stood beside his son. Calm, but burning with quiet strength. People had been shouting just seconds ago. Some were filming, others were angry. But when Marcus stepped in, the noise stopped. Something about him made people listen without a word. Marcus knelt beside his son, Jaden, and gently touched his shoulder. Jaden's arms were still in cuffs. His eyes were red. His lips were shaking. "I'm here now," Marcus said softly. "You're not alone." One of the officers cleared his throat. "Sir," he said, trying to sound in control, "you're interfering with an active investigation. We're handling a suspect." Marcus stood up slowly and looked directly into his eyes. "My son is not a suspect," he said in a calm, steady voice. "He's a child. You tackled a child." The officer took a small step back. "I understand your concern," but he matched the description. The other officer added quickly, "Black male, hoodie, backpack." "So that's all it takes?" Marcus asked, eyes narrowing. "My son fits your lazy guess, so you put him in cuffs and throw him on the ground." The officer hesitated. We were following procedure." Marcus's voice dropped lower. "Let me ask you something. Did your procedure teach you how to tell the difference between a threat and a teenager walking home?" The crowd started nodding. Some people whispered, "That's right." Others recorded every word. A woman in the back called out, "Tell them who you are." But Marcus didn't shout. He didn't brag. he stayed quiet, controlled, like a man trained for dangerous moments, because he was. Marcus was a former Special Forces instructor, skilled in recognizing real danger. He had stopped armed men. He had led missions across oceans. But here, in his own city, his unarmed son was treated like a threat. And Marcus had had enough. He pulled out his ID and handed it to the officers. "Take a good look," he said. The officers looked down at the card. Their faces changed quickly. They saw words like combat specialist, government clearance, threat elimination training. One of the officers blinked nervously. You're military." "I was," Marcus replied. "Now, I teach people how to deal with danger. But clearly, you don't know what real danger looks like." He then pointed at Jaden, still sitting on the pavement. "That boy, that's not danger. That's a high school student. That's my son. He plays basketball, makes honor roll, helps his mother cook dinner." The crowd clapped again. A man shouted, "Tell them." One officer bent down and unlocked the handcuffs. Jaden rubbed his sore wrists. He was still scared, but with his father next to him, he felt safe again. "Let's get out of here," Marcus said to him quietly. But as they turned to leave, one officer asked, "Are you going to report us?" Marcus paused. He looked back and said, "What do you think?" By the time they got to the car, Jaden was quiet. He looked out the window, deep in thought. "I thought I did everything right," he finally said. "I was just walking. I didn't run. I didn't talk back. I just existed." Marcus looked at his son. "I know," he replied, "and sometimes that's all it takes for people to fear us." Jaden's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to live scared." "You won't," Marcus said, holding his shoulder. "Not as long as I'm breathing." That night, the video went viral. People saw the calm but powerful father. They saw the scared teen. They saw how quickly judgment was made based on skin, not truth. Comments poured in. "This broke my heart. His dad is a real hero. This happens too often." But Marcus wasn't finished. The next morning, he made a phone call to a lawyer, to a journalist, to a few old friends from his military days, who now worked in government. "I want everything recorded," Marcus said. "Every lie, every mistake." This wasn't just about Jaden anymore. This was about all the kids who never got to go home. The next morning, Marcus Carter didn't sleep in. He had barely slept at all. His son, Jaden, was safe in bed. But the image of him lying on the ground in handcuffs kept playing in Marcus's mind. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his boy crying. And that made Marcus's hands curl into fists. But Marcus didn't fight with fists anymore. He fought with truth. And this time, the truth would be loud. He sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open. His military training had taught him how to gather facts, how to study movements, and how to uncover lies. This time, his mission wasn't overseas. It was in his own city. First, he pulled up the police department's report. It was public online. His face turned hard as he read the first lines. Suspect matched the description of a robbery suspect. Black male, dark hoodie, athletic build. Suspect resisted arrest and appeared aggressive. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. Aggressive, he whispered. He was scared. He kept reading. No weapons were found. Suspect released without charges. No apology, no explanation. Just a cold report to cover a warm lie. Marcus made a phone call to his lawyer friend, Angela Ross. She was sharp, tough, and not afraid of anyone. "Angela," he said, "I need to see the security footage from the store, the one they say was robbed." "Already on it," she said. "But guess what? The manager said they never filed a police report. Nothing was stolen. No one robbed anything." Marcus was quiet. Then he said, "So they lied." Angela replied, "Yes, and we're going to prove it." Later that afternoon, Marcus took Jaden to the same corner where it all happened. Jaden hesitated. "Why are we here again?" "Because," Marcus said, "you need to see that you didn't do anything wrong. This street didn't hurt you. They did." Jaden looked around nervously. The sidewalk, the small store, the exact place where he had been slammed down. He held his father's hand tighter. Just then, the store owner stepped outside. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes. "You must be Jaden," he said gently. "I saw the video online. I want you to know, no one robbed the store. Those officers had no reason to stop you." Marcus stepped forward. "Would you be willing to say that on record?" The man nodded. "Yes. What happened to your son was wrong." Marcus smiled, just a little. The truth was starting to come out. Later that evening, Angela called again. "You're not going to believe this," she said. The officer's body camera footage was turned off. Marcus closed his eyes. Of course it was. "But guess what?" she continued. "The gas station across the street had full video. I got a copy." She emailed it to him. Marcus opened the file and pressed play. The video showed Jaden walking quietly. No one around him. No crime. No running. Just a boy walking home with his headphones on. Then, suddenly, the police car pulled up. Officers jumped out. No questions. No warning. Just violence. Angela's voice came through the phone. "We have them now." Marcus didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He just said, "Good, because this story isn't ending quietly." The next morning, Marcus posted a clip from the gas station footage online with a simple caption. "This is my son. He didn't commit a crime. He was walking home. This is what they did to him. We're not staying silent." Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Celebrities reposted it. News channels called Marcus nonstop. People started protesting in front of the police station. And the department? They went silent. Jaden saw it all from home. The news, the support, the people standing up for him. He looked at his dad with wide eyes. "I didn't know so many people would care." Marcus sat beside him. "They care because you could have been any one of them. And because it's time we stop pretending this is normal." Jaden asked, "What happens now?" Marcus took a deep breath. "Now we speak at the press conference tomorrow. You and me." "Me?" "Yes," Marcus said. "It's time they hear your voice too." Jaden stood behind the podium. His hands were shaking. Cameras flashed. Microphones surrounded him. And behind the crowd stood his father, Marcus Carter, calm, strong, and watching every move. This was Jaden's first time speaking in public. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't famous. He was just a 16-year-old boy. A boy who had been slammed to the ground by police for walking home while black. The press conference was held outside City Hall. Dozens of reporters had gathered. TV stations, bloggers, social media influencers, all were watching. Even the mayor's office had sent someone. Jaden looked out at the sea of eyes. He took a deep breath. Then he began. "I didn't ask to be famous," he said slowly. "I didn't ask to be on the news. I was just walking home from school, like I do every day." He paused. A gust of wind blew, but the crowd was still. No one asked me any questions. They didn't say my name. They just grabbed me, threw me down. His voice shook, but he didn't stop. They said I fit the description, but all they really saw was my skin. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Wow." Jaden looked down for a second, then up again. "My name is Jaden Carter. I get good grades. I help my mom. I play basketball. I love music. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a threat." A few people clapped softly. Jaden continued. "But the day they pushed me down, I felt like I was nothing. I cried. I was scared. I thought maybe I wouldn't go home. But then my dad came." He turned and looked at Marcus. And everything changed. Now, Marcus stepped forward. He placed a strong hand on Jaden's shoulder. "I'm proud of my son." Marcus said into the mic, "He did nothing wrong. But this system did." He looked into the cameras. "And we have proof." Marcus then showed the gas station footage. It played on a large screen. The world saw Jaden walking peacefully. Then, they saw police cars pull up. No crime. No struggle. Just force. Just fear. Just failure. Gasps filled the air. One reporter asked, "Mr. Carter, what do you want to happen next?" Marcus replied, "Justice." He pointed towards City Hall. I want those officers off the street. I want the department to apologize. I want better training. And I want this to never happen again. The crowd clapped louder now. Some people cried. Some held up signs. I am Jaiden. Walking while black is not a crime. We stand with Marcus and Jaden. Later that night, Jaden and Marcus sat in their living room. The news was playing their story. Jaden asked, "Did I do okay?" Marcus smiled. "You didn't just do okay, you made them listen." Jaden looked down at his hands. "They hurt me, Dad, but now, I feel stronger." Marcus nodded. "Pain doesn't define you. How you stand afterward does." But not everyone was happy. At the police department, the two officers involved sat in a meeting room. Their chief looked angry. "You said he was aggressive," she said coldly. "The video says different." One officer mumbled, "We thought he was someone else." "You didn't think," she cut in. "You assumed." She stood up. "You're suspended, effective immediately." Back at home, Jaden's phone buzzed again. A message from a stranger. "Thank you for speaking up. My son went through something similar. You gave us hope." Jaden smiled. He looked at his dad. I want to keep talking. For others like me." Marcus put his arm around him. "Then let's do it together." It was early morning. Marcus Carter was in the kitchen, quietly making coffee. The news was still talking about his son's story. The video had millions of views. People from all over the country were showing support. Jaden had school today. Things were slowly returning to normal. But Marcus knew one thing. Normal would never be the same again. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Hard, sharp, 3 times. Marcus turned toward it, his eyes narrowing. He hadn't heard that knock in years. He opened the door slowly. Standing outside were 2 men in black suits, sunglasses on, holding ID badges. They looked serious. One of them said, "Mr. Carter, we need to talk." Jaden peeked from the hallway surprised. "Dad, who are they?" Marcus stepped outside and closed the door behind him. The man on the left spoke first. "We're with the agency, former division." Marcus crossed his arms. "I've been out for 10 years. Why are you here?" The man said, "We saw the footage. You're all over the news. You're exposing officers. You're making noise." Marcus didn't flinch. "So?" The other man leaned in. "So people are asking questions about you now." Marcus stayed silent. He knew this day would come. Marcus Carter wasn't just a soldier. He had been part of a classified elite unit in the U.S. government, trained to eliminate threats before they reached American soil. His missions were secret, his record sealed. He had taken out dangerous targets across the globe, and he had seen things that would make most people freeze in fear. But he never told anyone, not even his son. "You need to be careful," one agent warned. "The more attention you bring, the more questions people ask." Marcus gave a cold smile. "Let them ask." The agent replied, "Some people might dig into your file. They might use it against you, twist your past, make you look like the dangerous one." Marcus leaned closer. "Then maybe they'll finally learn what real danger looks like." Back inside, Jaden watched his father from the window. He had always known his dad was strong, but something about the way Marcus stood, the way the men in suits looked nervous around him, Jaden realized his father wasn't just strong. He was trained, powerful, dangerous to the wrong people. Later that day, Marcus sat Jaden down. "There are things I never told you," he began. Jaden looked confused. "Like what?" Marcus looked into his son's eyes. "I used to stop threats before they reached families like ours. I was part of a team. We went where others wouldn't go, did what others couldn't do." Jaden's eyes widened. "You were like a secret agent." Marcus smiled softly. "Something like that." Jaden sat quietly. "I always wondered why you were so calm, why you never got scared." Marcus nodded. "Because I've seen the worst, but I've also learned the best way to fight it, with truth, with strength, with love." Jaden asked, "Are you scared now?" Marcus paused. "Yes, but not for me. For what happens next. Because once you speak truth loudly, powerful people get nervous." Meanwhile, across town, the officers who had tackled Jaden were being investigated, but a new report was spreading, claiming Marcus Carter had a violent military past. It was full of half-truths, twisted facts, old missions taken out of context. Headlines started changing. Father has secret military record. Is Marcus Carter hiding a dark past? They were trying to silence him, trying to scare him, trying to flip the story. But Marcus didn't back down. He made a video that night. He sat beside Jaden and spoke directly to the camera. "Yes, I served my country," he said. "Yes, I protected lives. But that doesn't make me dangerous." He held Jaden's hand. "What's dangerous is when we let fear guide justice, when we let color decide guilt, and when people with power lie to protect their own." Jaden looked into the camera and said, "My dad is not the threat. He's the reason I'm still here." The video went viral. Again, even stronger this time, because now the world knew two things. Jaden had been hurt unfairly, and his father was no ordinary man. The city was no longer quiet. For days now, people had been marching in the streets. They carried signs. They chanted Jaden's name. They demanded justice, not just for him, but for every young black teen who had ever been stopped, searched, or slammed to the ground without reason. The video of Marcus Carter's speech had gone everywhere. News stations couldn't stop talking about it. But not everyone liked what they saw. Inside City Hall, a meeting was being held behind closed doors. Old men in suits sat around a long table. "The public is turning against us," one said. "They're calling for the chief to resign," said another. "They're calling Marcus Carter a hero." An older man with gray hair stood up. "Then maybe it's time we listen." Meanwhile, Marcus and Jaden were sitting in their living room when the phone rang. It was a direct call from the mayor's office. "Mr. Carter," said the voice, "we'd like you and your son to come down to City Hall today." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "You'll see." When they arrived, a crowd was already gathered outside. People were cheering, holding up signs that read, "Justice for Jaden, Marcus for Chief. Truth is power." Inside the building, the mayor stood waiting. She shook Marcus's hand firmly. Then she turned to Jaden. "Your voice changed this city," she said kindly. Jaden blinked, surprised. "You didn't just speak for yourself," she continued. "You spoke for thousands, maybe millions." She then stepped aside, and someone brought forward two official documents. One was a formal apology from the police department, signed by the chief himself. The second, a letter of termination for the two officers who had assaulted Jaden. Marcus looked at both papers. He didn't smile. He just nodded once. This wasn't a celebration. It was justice, simple and overdue. Then the mayor did something no one expected. She looked at Marcus and said, "We want to invite you to lead a new program, a department inside the city, to train officers on how to handle situations with care, respect, and fairness, based on your experience, based on your strength." Jaden's eyes widened. "Dad, are they offering you a job?" Marcus looked at the mayor. "I'm not interested in wearing a badge," he said quietly, "but I will teach people how to protect without harming." Outside, when Marcus and Jaden stepped out, the crowd exploded with cheers. A reporter shouted, "Marcus, how does it feel?" He held Jaden close and answered, "It's not about how I feel. It's about what we all do next. My son deserves a future where he doesn't have to be afraid, and your sons do too." Jaden added, "I was afraid, but now I'm not alone." That evening, as the sun set across the city, a beautiful thing happened. In the same place where Jaden had once been thrown down, people gathered for a candlelight walk. Children held candles. Mothers hugged their sons tighter. Fathers wiped away quiet tears. They walked, not in anger, but in unity. And at the front of the walk, Jaden and Marcus, side by side, not as a victim and protector, but as a symbol of what happens when truth is louder than fear, when courage walks with pain.